Welcome back everyone. In today's video, we are diving into how you can customize cookie authentication in .NET 8 Blazor Interactive Server render mode. Sounds long, right? Now you might wonder, why would you even need custom cookie authentication? Why we do have the default one that you can implement simply and go your way. Just a matter of select and that is all. Well, if you have that in mind, picture this. You've got a unique Blazor application where users log in, but you want more control over their session handling, like specific redirection rules, managing user roles, or adding extra claims right after login. That is where customizing cookie authentication becomes super powerful. So in this video, I'm going to guide you through step by step on how to set up a quick custom cookie authentication and make it work seamlessly in your Blazor app with interactive server render mode. So stick around to see how easy it is to secure your app in your own way. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Netcode-Hub for more .NET tips and tricks. Let's get started. I have my Visual Studio 2022 launched, as you can see on the screen. Now we're going to create project, so let's go in there and I'll hop into it and I'll do that. So that is my project name, Demo Blazor Interactive Server Cookie Auth. But this should be custom, right? The name sounds long, but well, it's okay, it's meaningful, isn't it? So let's create it. Once we have our application or our project created, the next thing that we're going to do is install our necessary packages. That is what we will be using. Now, I hate installing packages or reinstalling packages once I have installed them already, and I believe you hate either. So quickly, if you've been watching my videos, you know that when I get to this point, I go in there and I reload these packages. Yeah, sounds great, and it's good to do that. So I'll just have to unload this. But well, if you don't have these packages installed already, then you know what to do, isn't it? You got to install these packages. Well, we need 3 packages for this, 3 or 4 packages. Entity Framework Core, we need Identity, and also maybe we need SQLite and Tools. Okay, let's get these packages installed. So from here, all that I need to do is to pass in an item group. And now in the item group, that is where I'm going to specify these items as packages. And you know what? We install these 4 packages. Identity, the Entity Framework Core, we have the EF Core itself. We have an SQLite, which is a database, and here we have Tools. So in case you are using an SQL Server, then you know what to do. Instead of an SQLite, there's going to be an SQL Server. That is all. Alright, so after I have pasted, and you and I have done this, let's go and reload this project, so we can get these packages and these dependencies correctly installed. Great, so it's working. You can just verify from the dependencies, applications, and soon it's going to be fixed. Let's wait for a while. Oh, so soon. So that is it. All right, so let's go in there and add our connection. It's going to be a service. First of all, we need to create a DB set. So let me add a folder so I can put everything in here. So let me say this is data. Let's add class. So we need to inherit from identity DB context, since we want to create user using Identity Manager. But if you want to implement your custom database to handle user registration, you can do that. So we have Identity User, and that is all we need here. Let's go back to our program. So once you have a DB context, you go back to our program.cs. Let's first add a database connection. So we need to get an SQLite. It seems you're not having that package yet. Did you actually install that? SQLite, yeah, we have it. So options dot, let's specify an option. SQLite, and then in here we're going to say that, okay, so we can do it straightforward. So data source, so that is my database name that I have specified. So after we are done with this, what is the next thing that we can do? Let's go and add our connection. But first of all, we're going to need some constant, that's the authentication scheme and the cookie name. Since we're going to create our own custom cookie, we need this, and we're going to be using this when we're trying to sign in and do our stuff. So I think the best idea here is to create as a constant, because we don't want to be repeating this copy and paste, copy and paste. Let's create it in a class so we can use it all over. So let's have a class, and I'm going to say this is app constant. You can say that authentication constant, maybe, I think auth constant to be okay. In here, let's have our constant, which is string. Then we say this is scheme. So, well, this Netcode-Hub, that is my scheme. I also do same, and instead of the scheme, I'm going to be cookie name. And it's the same thing, Netcode-Hub. Okay. Now we are good. So we can grab this, we go to our program, and down here, let's add a service. So we need to use the app constant. We need to add a namespace. So dot, then we need to provide a scheme. Then after that, we need to add cookie. We need to also provide the same scheme. And within this, we need to provide the cookie name. So option.cookie.name, and we have it already, so we can say .name. Let's provide the login path and also the logout path. We can actually add access deny too, but the most part here is to add the login. The login is the most important thing. But for the logout, we can do it unless you want to customize it in here. But for, well, login is quite important. If you want to specify the logout, you can do that. But for now, login path is what you want to concentrate. So we say options.login. Then let's say here we want to say authentication. Then we have our login. Okay. Now let's have options.cookie. We want to make it HTTP only, so this is true for protection. We want to add expiration. So we can say that it's timestamp. So we want to make it like from day and how many days? 1. Okay, and maybe a last one, we can say options.slide. Let's set this to true. Okay, so we have this set. There are a lot of configurations that you can add, but I think these are the basics, so we getting this will make it work. After doing this, we need to, since we're going to be using Identity Manager, we can go ahead and then use Identity Manager, because we're going to be adding, creating user and also login user. So we're going to say builder.services. Hence, we are not having this because we did not install that package. So we need to quickly go in and do that. Let's add it to this. On top here, get this package installed. Identity.ui. Get it installed, and quickly let's go and reload this project. Now when we go back to the program.cs, we must get it. I'm not sure it is loaded yet. Yeah, so let's wait. Okay, so that is set, and you can see we have it. So in here, it needs identity user, and we need to go in and add entity framework store, which takes in app.db context. And lastly, we need to, in case we're going to be generating tokens, that is why we need to add default token providers. But we can close it here since we're going to be using email confirmation and stuff. Okay, so we can maintain this. All right, so this is going to allow us to do it, to authenticate the user through our customized cookie service that we have added. Okay, so after we are done with this, I believe we can go in and add our authentication and authorization over here. Maybe less authentication, and you can still go in there and I'll add that. Now let's add one more thing. You know, we can decide to use cascading authentication states in the route, or you can decide to use the service to skip that. I like using the service. So let's use .services.add cascading authentication states. Alright, so now that we are good, we can go in and create our model. So here we have our data. Let's create our, this is register. So under this, we're going to be using, maybe we need an email, we need password. What again do we need? That is okay for registration. And for phone login, we need same. So that is class login. We can inherit from this register, so we get to use the same models here, email and password. Okay, maybe in case you want to add username, you can do that, but we're going to use the email same as username. And lastly, I think here this should come here, and here we need one more, that is confirm password. Okay, so instead of inheriting from this should rather inherit from login. Like this. Then for email, we can use a default attribute, so email address, and maybe we can add required. Then we can make a copy, password, and we can also add compare to password, and that is this one. Okay, so we have our login and our register models created with this attribute data annotations added. Let's go and create our simple form for registration and login. So we go back to component pages. In there we can add a result component. Okay, so this is register, and here we have a page and we say authentication / register. Then let's create a simple form. Let's have a model. Now this model is going to be this register model that we have created. Let's have the method, and this should be post, and let's have form name. So this is register form. Okay, so in that we need to have an email and also password and a confirmed password. I have this our email, and we're gonna have your password, and that is our password, and lastly confirm password. So confirmed password. Okay, so that is what we have here. After that we need to get a button so we can submit. Now I have the button down here, so that is a button. In that, let's go and create. So we need to supply parameter from form, since this is going to be static. We are not having interactive render on top, so we need to add this. So before we can do that, this needs to be changed from this, and now we need to use our CSS, that is get and set. So we need register model, and this is just register, not the model. And here we need the form name, that's a register form, right? So it should be the same as this register form. All right, so now that we are done with this, as soon as button is clicked, what can we do? We need to inject our user manager and try to create user. So let's have a user manager here. We're taking identity user, and I will say user manager. This should come from ASP.NET Core identity. So let's add the namespace. Let's say user manager, that's correct. So we are not, okay. We are going to inject this. We are not we are injecting. Okay, so when the button is clicked, we have this. Okay, we did not do this. Unvalid submit. Register. So let's create a method that is async task and say register. When this button is clicked, you want to say that await user manager dot create async. So new identity user, and let's specify register model dot this register model dot password. So in here, let's specify the must field properties, such as the username, which is equal to this dot email provided. We have email, which is equal to dot the same email. Aside from that, we have password. Then we can get the password from here. So after the user has been created, we want to navigate to maybe login. So let's inject navigation manager. So we can go ahead and check. We can check from results here, and I'll say if this result succeeds, that is where we want to navigate. And for our login, the route should be authentication / login. It should match same as what we did in the program.cs file when creating or adding this service, authentication/login, and it should be same. Okay, now let's go and create our login component. So in our login, when we go back to the data folder, our register, we have a login here. I think we can extract this and make this base model as a class. We paste this here. So instead of inheriting from that, inherit from the base model, then this can also inherit same from base model. I did that so we can add one property, and that is Boolean, and here it is remember me. Okay, so once you have this, we go back to our component and we say this is login component. So login, and I have my login model. Okay, so when this, as we did, so this is going to be an SSR static, so we need to make sure we put in the attribute or the supply parameter from form attribute. So I can grab it from here to skip typing again. Okay, so we have it, and that's the form name. So the form that we're going to create, we must have this name inclusive. Let's have our edit form. Let's have our method, that is post. We have form name, we have it already, and we have our model, that is login model. Then unvalid submit, this is login. In that we need 3 elements, and here we need input text, and this component is going to handle the email. We have the next one which will handle the password. This is for password, and the next one for checkbox for remember me. Okay, now that we need our button, we can also, okay, we need to add validation data annotation. So data annotations over here. Let's grab same. We go to the register component. So when login is clicked, what do you want to do? You can have an async task login. Let's also inject a user manager. Now this should come from the namespace of identity. When this is clicked, this is what we can do. We can just go first and I'll find the email, check the password, and in case we have matching for this, that is where we log in the user. So result first, or let's say let's make this at user manager.find by email. We have our login model dot email. In case this user is not now, we want to check the password. So check password async, and here you need to provide the user and also the password. Now this is going to return true. So if results dot, now you're just going to return, it's a boolean. So when you check this, this is boolean. So if this is true, meaning the username is there, that's the email is there, the password is there. Let's go and log in. But before we do that, we need to, let's inject our HTTP context, and this should be cascading parameter, and that is a context. And also there's one thing that we need to also add, and this is coming from supply parameter from query, and here it is string, it is return URL. So that's a return URL. Currently we want to set, if the first time the user is logging in, it is going back to home, but in case the user is trying to access a protected component, then it will redirect the user to the login, and in that we're going to get this section from the query. Okay, so we're going to have this return URL. So this is going to be overridden, and we're going to have the current address before coming here, so we can navigate back to that component after successful login. I believe it's making sense, isn't it? So now we're going to check. So in here, if everything is all right, then we want to log in. So how do we log in here? By using this HTTP context. Let's first create our identity. So before, let's create, these are claims, and now these claims you want to use a user email. That is for the email, and now the name too we want to use same, because you have all the email in there. You have email and password, right? So if you have any special properties that you added by creating instance or inheriting from this identity user, and now adding more properties, you can go in there and I'll add it here. But for now we have an email and name, so it's quite same. So we have this claim, and now with this claim that we do have, we're going to add it to this claim. So it first takes in the claims, and aside from taking in this claim, it needs to use authentication scheme. So let's see here, and now let's go and use this app constant. The app constant, we can check the name from here. Okay, so that's the auth constant. Let's grab that. We go back to login, and here we're going to use the scheme. We should have a body for this. Okay. Alright, so now that we have this, the next thing that we're going to do here is we're going to add our principal. So let's create our principal. Then we can create authentication properties. And this should come from AS Netcode Authentication, and in that we say it's persistent. Let's set this to login model dot remember me. This is just a boolean property, so we want to set it to here. Then after we are done, we go in there and sign in. So I wait to have a context dot, then we're gonna have sign in. Now the sign in, we need to use our this auth constant dot scheme, and also we need the principal, and we need the authentication properties, and we are good. After we are signed in, we need our nav manager. So let's go back to the register component. Let's grab navigation manager, and now with this nav manager, you want to navigate to return URL. Do you remember that? Default has home page, so you want to navigate here. Okay, now let's go back to the home page, and I make sure the home page is authorized. Before you get to the home page, you need to register. So we can add this attribute, and now with this attribute, we're going to say this is authorized. So if you're not authorized, you cannot come here. So as soon as the user clicks on the home page and now the person is not authorized, it's going to navigate back to the link that we specified in the program.cs file. That is this login path. That's authentication/login, and that is this component or this page. So let's add page / login. I hope you're getting it. So that's the login. And as soon as the user logs in, we navigate back to the return URL. Okay. Now I want us to have same thing in the weather. So let's go back to the home page. And now from even the counter, we can make sure this place is also authorized. Home page, and our weather too, this is authorized as well. Alright, so once we have this set, let's go back to our routes. And instead of having this route view, we want to use authorize route view. Okay, authorize route view. Okay, we are not using cascading authentication state because we've added that as a service, so we are good. Okay, now let's go back to the layout. That's our nav, and in here let's make sure we have an authorized view. Let me remove all this so we can add it as using statement. And if you are authorized, you want to say this. In case you are not, you want to say this. So let's grab one of these. If you are authorized, you want to say logout and go to authentication / logout. But in case you are not authorized, then you want to say login, going back to authentication login, and also we want to see another one as register. And that is register. I hope you are getting it. So if you're not authorized, you're going to see this. In case you are, then kindly say this. That means we need to create another component for logout, isn't it? Let's grab this. Then let's create our last component, where it's going to be logout component. And for the route, it's going to be at page. We have authentication / logout. Now we can use this override when the page initializes. That is when we want to do this magic. Let's go back to the home. No, that's the login component. Now let's grab our context. Let's go back to the logout. Let's paste it. And now we're going to say that await context dot you must have logout. So this should be sign out async, and this should come from authentication. And this takes in, let's specify the auth constant, which is coming from the data folder .scheme, specify our scheme. So after we are through, we want to inject this. So let's add nav manager. So logouts, nav manager, and let's navigate. So nav manager dot navigate to login. So that's going to be authentication / login. All right. Now let's say if you want to get a claim. So let's go to our home page. Now we have this here, so we can use this authorized view. Let's remove all this. make it as using statement. So if you're authorized, we can get access to context, right? So we can have this context dot user, then let's say dot claims dot first or default. We can get whereby type dot equal to claim types, which is coming from system dot claims. So dot name, we have name or email, so we can get any of them because we said that, and we can say hi, welcome. Okay, and maybe we can also put in an H1 authenticated. That is when you are authorized. So you want to move all this here, and in case you are not authorized, then we can just grab only this and we can say not authenticated. Okay, app is ready, but we need to perform migration first so we can get access to our DB context. Let's first go ahead and build the project. Let's go and add migration. Okay, so they're saying that no. Okay, let's go back to DB context. I think we did not finish that, so we need to create constructor here and pass in these DB options. Good. Now let's go and do it again. Alright, let's go ahead and now run this application. Okay, so here it is moving us to identity/account. So let's go back to our program.cs file and let's check it out. Now here we are going to identity account, that is the default one, and this is coming from the add default identity. Since you want to override that with authentication, let's grab this. So let's put on top here, then let's move this one, identity manager, on top. So this is going to be the last part. Now let's rerun this and check it out. Alright, so let's see our authentication. You have an issue here, meaning it's going to this authentication/login. Let's check our login component. Register login component authentication/login. Let's see. Lens, we forget this for a slash. Watch here, we forgot this. Okay, let's rerun this. Okay, so this ignored. We need to use, I think we need to use timestamp instead of this. So that's why if we have expiration, we can use option.times expired times span in place of the first one. Yeah, so you can see that from here we wanted to go to the home component, but since we are not logged in, you see we have this return URL over here. So let's log in. But before we log in, I think we don't have an account, so we need to register first, right? So let's go to register and do it. So admin @ and that is my password. Now let's register. If it works, we need to go to the login. Okay, so you can see we are in the login component. Now we can go and log in. Oh, remember me, our checkbox wasn't created well, so let's skip that. We want to use like this. Now as soon as we log in, we're supposed to go back to our home component, and I can see it got refreshed and we have this. So this is our email, this is our claims email, and I is saying that you authenticated, and we have logout. If I click on counter, now I'm in the counter, whether I'm over here. If you refresh this, you can see you are still there. So if I go to inspect and check it out from the application, and go to your cookie, you can see that we're going to have Netcode-Hub cookie, and that is this. This is the scheme, and that's your cookie over here. If I click on logout, see what will happen. I'm logged out, and you can see it is off. Now if I click on counter, I have a return URL. As soon as I'm done logging in, it also will navigate me to the counter. Watch it out. Yes, I have the cookie right here, and I am there. So you can see that we're able to have a customized authentication and specific, that is cookie authentication. Lastly, go back to your login, and I'll make sure you have your checkbox. So instead of saying form control, it should be form check. Alright, now that's going to work over there. Alright, so we have successfully set up our custom cookie authentication in our .NET Blazor Interactive Server application, giving you the flexibility to control your need for managing user session. Remember that securing your application is crucial, and customizing the authentication is a powerful way to handle your authentication system on your own. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for more great content. If you have any questions too, you can put it in the comment below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.